Why do people always tell other people to get a lawyer? How can anyone afford to do that? I just read an article about a guy whose car got booted and towed from his paid-for parking spot. And the comments are consistently get a lawyer slam dunk in court, etc., etc. Same for any number of other issues that come up. But do any of you people know how much a lawyer costs? I asked for legal help once and they said it would be multiple thousands of dollars just to file some paperwork. The hourly rate for my relative who's a lawyer is over $400. No matter how right you are, how can anyone actually afford to help? Traffic and parking lawyers, at least in my area, are not expensive and make their living from multiple one-time clients. I got a lawyer for something in traffic court and the entire thing cost about $300, which saved me over 3 times that in fines and the points on my license. For the example you provided, getting a car out of the impound lot is a good $800 normally. Plus, you would likely add court costs and lawyer fees on top of that. So you'd get your money back. You don't need a lawyer for something small like that. There is small claims if you've suffered injuries and there is a good chance of a settlement. You can usually find a lawyer to take the case on contingency. It's a lot like when people say to get therapy. Not everybody has access to it or can afford it, but it could still be the best advice in your situation. And maybe it's important enough that you would consider sacrificing something else in your life to pay for it. There are unfortunately a lot of situations where you'll have a much better outcome with a lawyer than without. Or it might be so complex or have so many hidden traps that you wouldn't know where to start without having a lawyer to advise you. Not every legal issue ends up in court. The fees are often less than you'd think. The real issue is when you have a legal issue. You can't afford not to get a lawyer. Often a lawyer will work for a percentage of the award. A $400 an hour is not going to take that case. You can't afford not to. Most lawyers are very patient on repayment. When you represent yourself, your lawyer has an idiot for a client. From personal experience, I had a lawyer win a lawsuit against my employer due to negligence. They were the you win, we win type of lawyers that took 25 of what I won. Typically, if the only people you can get are the ones where you pay up front, you probably don't have that solid of a case. Because it's an easy thing to say when it's not you paying. I understand. Sometimes it does not make sense to get a lawyer. I got a traffic ticket. I priced lawyers. I was going to have to pay $2,000 for that ticket. The fine was $200. I thought I had a slam dunk case. I learned that no matter how much you think you have a slam dunk case, if you do not have a lawyer, you are going to lose. And if I prepaid that ticket, I would not have had to go to court at all. Assume that you will lose pro se and make your decision accordingly. If the fine is less than the lawyer fees, then you are okay without. If you cannot afford the fine, then you cannot afford to be without a lawyer. The point is that in many situations a lawyer is cheaper than the legal ramifications you endure without one. Usually it's more expensive to not get a lawyer. Lots of cases are cheap one-time fees. I paid $1,200 for a DUI lawyer. She kept pushing it back for years until a fill-in prosecutor showed up and she got it reduced to reckless driving. Money well spent. There are legal service plans you can pay for. My partner's employer offers it to employees. It's just a small monthly fee and pays for legal services. You pay for filing fees and any extras out of pocket. It has come in handy a few times. There are a variety different companies that offer plans. I think most people should have one just in case. I saw a lawyer who said I had an excellent wrongful termination case over my disability. He wanted a $50,000 retainer from which he would draw at a rate of $600 hour. He said I'd be out of pocket about $250,000 before it was all over. I was suing for $250,000. So, the point of pursuing justice is what exactly? A lot of people on Reddit are fuckwits. They have no idea that it typically costs way more to hire a lawyer than just take the L and move on. Sure, sometimes it's worth it to get a lawyer, but most of the time it's just not worth the headache. Lawyers are expensive. So are doctors. But some problems require you to talk to a professional instead of asking random chucklefucks on Reddit. You ask for the party at fault to pay all court fees. So you win, you are reimbursed. In some cases the lawyer is only paid if they won and they take a portion of the winnings. I'm aware of a few cases, specifically in workplace sexual harassment, where this is the scenario. It's a large chunk, so it's in the lawyer's best interest to take a case that is high probability of winning. It's just an American thing. A retainer is cheap insurance. Everyone should already have an attorney. You can purchase legal insurance. There are places that give you free legal aid. You don't have to pay to get someone on retainer, but you should get more professional advice from someone familiar with your local situation. Yes, because most of the world uses the British system where lawyer fees are paid out as part of a settlement or as damages for the winning party. The Americans use their own system where lawyers are paid for by each person and usually not awarded as part of damages or settlements. This is what anti-SLAPP laws are a lot more important in America than most of the other worlds. We also have small claims court for minor disputes without having to go through a lawyer but get a court verdict. I'm sorry I'm chuckling to myself after reading the op. I'm a professional landlord. That's all I do. Anyway, I have always found it funny that every tenant who can't pay rent always somehow have a lawyer on the retainer. Or rather, they love to threaten me with their lawyer on the retainer, lol. Little do they know I actually got a couple lawyers on the retainer for real, haha. But yes, it is very expensive to keep these guys around. But it's totally worth it in my case. I'm having to at least delay getting a lawyer for a pretty big issue because I can't afford a lawyer. The system is designed that way and leaves really poor people helpless. There is insurance. Same reason why anyone who posts about some kind of interpersonal issue is told to get therapy, because the majority of people aren't experts in law or mental health and can't actually comment on your problem. They don't know what else to say. Get on legal insurance. Usually pretty cheap, relatively. Most of the time when people say that, it's not assumed they can afford a lawyer, but rather, they cannot afford not to get a lawyer in their predicament. Many people have legal insurance and assume everyone does, or have no idea, but write anyway, because nobody will notice you're a dog. If it's for a small amount, I agree that you probably don't need a lawyer and could settle everything in small claims court, where lawyers usually aren't allowed. But if you're going after a large sum of money, the other party most likely will have a lawyer represent them, especially if it's against a company. It's extremely unlikely that a private person will have much experience in court. And the lawyer for the other side will eat him up for breakfast. That's why having a lawyer on your side is beneficial. They know the ins and outs of how a court operates and know how to do what needs to be done.